Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our next session. I'm excited for our speaker here. Our speaker is going to be Dave Ralph, and he's going to be doing a session called The Ripple Effect, the Subtle Signs of Stress. Take it away, my friend.
Thanks very much, Ricardo. Welcome, everybody. Really excited, quite honored to have been selected for the Dare to Be Great number 6, allegedly the final one, but we'll work on Ricardo for that. I'm a retired commander from the Toronto Paramedic Service. If that word's strange to you, that means I was a manager. One above a supervisor, I reported to the Deputy Chief of Communications for the Toronto Paramedic Service. I'm also an extreme volunteer with the TEMA Foundation. I would encourage you, if you're interested in this topic of mental health, mental wellness, to please visit tema.foundation. We have a complimentary free session, 4 segments called PPE for Your Mind. And upcoming, we have some educational days, one taking place in Pickering, Ontario, just east of Toronto, Ontario. That'll be in March. And for those in the Northeast, if you'd love to come to Halifax, Nova Scotia in May, we'll be having an educational day face-to-face with speakers. I say I'd like to get to know my audience, so I've given Ricardo a couple of polls to throw up there, and I'd love it if you could answer both of those polls, just so I know where my audience is and I can tune what I want to say. The poll tab is the one on the far right. Director, supervisor, CTOs, frontline, industry partners. And Ricardo, there's also a second poll there, ladies and gentlemen, for the length of time you've been involved in this crazy business. While you're filling that poll out, a little bit more about me. It was 1974 when I started in 911. Well, actually, 911 didn't come to Southern Ontario until 1980-81. So I came from the era where we hand wrote the tickets, et cetera, et cetera. Let me see, how's that poll coming? Oh, good, okay. It's fantastic. 20 plus, oh my God. That's great. I'll come back to that in a minute. I'll go back to the chat while we continue. Ricardo, am I reloading?
No, I see your cursor over the presentation right now. If you just click on the arrow that's down there, down to the bottom, it should be able to move you forward.
Join our free community? No?
Oh, no, on your actual presentation. Go ahead and click on your presentation.
I think oh, there we go. Here we go. There we go. That's good. I say that I've been involved in public safety communications for 50 years, and that's because I'm currently an instructor in the emergency telecommunications course here at Humber, here in Toronto at Humber College. I've been doing that for the past 10 years. I had a great career. Make no doubt about it. I had opportunities to travel to Australia and present at the APCO Australasia conference many years ago. I helped the private company in India develop a organized pre-hospital care system in the mid 2000s. I've been around the block. What I want to do today for you is to share 2 personal occurrences that happened to me while I was working, both when I was a supervisor, operational supervisor in the call center. And how I don't want to hit you over the head with this ripple effect thing, but stress is cumulative. It builds. We are hit with stress from our work. We're hit with stress from our private life. We're hit with stress connected to our relationships. And it almost created a firestorm. I can't move the slides forward. Ricardo, help me out here, buddy.
So if you click right on the screen, go ahead and click, and then press your right arrow on your keyboard.
No, I've got a window. I've got a window that's popped up that says loop, show all controls, open video in new tab, save video frame, copy, picture in picture, cast.
I would click off of that because it sounds like
Okay.
that was a right click.
All right. I've got my cursor, one tiny one, what it looks on the screen, and then one that looks like it's on the screen of my laptop. I got two cursors running around here.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So let's try something really quick. Press the escape key on your presentation because we're just gonna share it one more time.
Okay, I can't. Escape key won't work. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, just my face.
Yeah, just for the moment. So on your presentation alone, what do you see on the
Mhm.
PowerPoint?
Well, there's nothing on the black screen of your product. I can find my presentation in my task down here at the bottom, but
Okay,
I
yeah.
don't see it anywhere else.
Yeah, pull up your presentation so that it's in front of you.
Okay, got it.
All right, and then uh it's in the like editing mode at the moment, right?
Yeah, I haven't changed that, I don't think. Yeah.
Okay, so then that one button in the bottom right-hand corner of your PowerPoint that said present, press that button and put it back into presentation mode so that it's that window again.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, everybody. This is first time for Crowdcast and me. Um, I'm looking at my presentation. I've got the slideshow. I've got the reading view. I've got the slide sorter and the left and right arrows.
Yeah, so the where that slider is just to the left is that little button that looks like a projection screen. Press that.
Mm-hmm. That says reading view. Sorry, everybody. My apologies.
No, no worries. So yeah, the button that has the little projection screen on it, it's at the bottom right-hand corner to the left of the slider. Press that button.
I'm doing that and nothing seems to be happening.
Your PowerPoint presentation might have just frozen completely. You'll have to exit out of it, close it, and then just open it back up.
All right, now I got to go find it. Okay, I've reopened up the presentation. Are you there,
Yes, I'm here.
Ricardo?
All
Okay,
right.
I've
So,
reopened the presentation.
okay, you got it. So then at the bottom right corner, hit that one button again so you can put it back into presentation mode.
Okay, yeah, I've got the black screen. And I'm coming back to, oh, I've lost Crowdcast. Where did Crowdcast go? Oh my goodness. You know, that perspiration level has just gone up a lot.
No, no, you're fine. You're fine. You got plenty of time. Like We're
Oh,
live,
wait a
and
minute.
it
There
is
we go.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. We've got a lot of people that want to hear what I got to say, and I can't get to them.
And that's why this is fine, because they're all here to see what's going on. So it is all good. No worries. Okay, so
Okay, buddy.
is it back in presentation mode?
I have the presentation up. I've found the Dare to be Great. I just need to get it onto the screen now.
Yes. So now
Is
if you're
that
looking
the
at the
sharing?
screen with us, yep, hit that button
Yep.
down at the bottom to present, then go to screen,
Yeah. Screen.
and then press window.
Window. Pick that.
All
And
right,
there.
and then choose. There you go. All
There we
right,
go.
excellent. Now you can go press forward to go next. There we go,
So
sir.
just to prove that I struck my own challenge coin. I thought you might like to see that. The 6 and 5 digit numbers on the right hand on the back half, those were my employee numbers. And while I didn't actively dispatch in a fire environment, I taught a records management and CAD system. Enough about me, though. Let's keep moving on here and talk a little bit about what I'm going to say. Please read that over so you understand where I come from. I'm not a mental health professional, although I have a lot of mental health professional friends that I've encountered over the years. And if I trigger any of you, I apologize in advance with my stories. There may be some parallel stories. I would encourage you to seek out some professional advice if you're struggling at all in the past, currently, or perhaps in the future. Everybody knows this guy, I'm sure. But do you know, one, that he's a Canadian, and two, he suffers from a mental health problem? Let's take a listen to what he thinks about mental health.
In the United States, it was the Howard Stern show, and I have OCD, and part of it is I have these rituals and I can't touch things. And he thought it was funny to the door was kind of dirty and nobody would open it for me, and I started to panic and go through anxiety. And I didn't know we were still broadcasting. I said, no, I see a psychiatrist. I have OCD. I'm medicated. I can't. This is not funny. This is not a joke. And they ended up opening the door for me. And then I realized that this got broadcast. And I went down onto the street. It was in Manhattan, in New York. And I walked out into the street. And I thought, how can I deal with this? And how can I even look at anybody? And right when I walked into, I was facing the traffic, somebody came up to me and said, "Are you Howie Mandel?" And I wouldn't even make eye contact. I was so embarrassed. And I went, "Yeah." And they said, "I just heard you on Howard Stern." And I went, "Oh my God, like, what do I do now? Do I just run into traffic and just end it here?" And the next two words were the words that made my life different. And the guy just said into my ear, "Me too." If we take care of our mental health like our dental health, we'll be okay. We all talk about our dental health. Talk about my mental health? No. In corporate North America and Canada, you can say in the middle of the day, "I got to leave at 3. I got to go see my dentist." But you look at the looks in the office when you say, "You know what? I got to go to a psychiatrist." You'll get looks. And that's what's wrong. And that's why we got to talk about it. There's no stigma. I'm crazy. I'm mental. I'm talking about it.
Thanks to Howie Mandel for sharing that with us. Bell Let's Talk. Bell Canada is one of our largest telephone suppliers, and every day, once a year in February, I believe, they raise funds for this issue of mental health. And for every text with the hashtag, I can't remember what the hashtag is, I think Let's Talk or Bell Let's Talk, text, message, et cetera, they donate 25 cents to mental health organizations across this country. And thank you very much, Howie, for sharing that and speaking up. I'm quite the advocate of talk therapy. I think if we talk to each other about what we're feeling, it's tough. It's tough. We're good. I want to make sure everybody is on the same page. I'm going to show you some pictures and some dates that have occurred when I was operational. I started in 74. I retired at the end of 2011. But this one you won't know too much about. This was a horrific crash. This is a 4-lane highway, 2 in each direction, down as you travel towards the Windsor-Detroit border. This is a large farming community. When this was happening, my brain was going towards the communicators who haven't handled anything like this in the summer months. They do get some good snow down there in the winter months, but just how horrific this can be. Anybody, July 10th, 2001? I presented this many years ago in the Washington APCO, state of Washington APCO, and I thought I would throw this forest firefighting video in there, thinking again of the communicators. August 10th, 2008, a more Toronto one. Silly me, I was the acting deputy chief. This was a Sunday night, and this happened in Toronto, like in the core of Toronto, predominantly residential, light industry. They were incorrectly transferring propane from a tanker truck into a storage facility, and this damaged about 2.5-3 miles of the surrounding area. 2 people were killed, the station operator and the truck driver, but windows, buildings were damaged. Just incredible. March 3rd, 2005. I'm a member of the board. I'm the president of the APCO Canada, and Mayor Thorpe, Alberta is in northern Alberta. Very poignant picture here. The flag, it's half staff. The 4 unmounted horses in the background, and a Mountie in their red surge standing post. The story is that 2 officers went into a farming community to execute a warrant to arrest the farmer for growing, back in 2005, growing marijuana illegally. They never checked in, so they sent 2 more officers. Time passed, they never checked in. Somebody finally said, well, we better send a whole bunch of police officers. The farmer shot as a sniper and killed those 4 officers. I wrote a letter to the Operational Communications Center on behalf of the membership of APCO Canada. Never heard back. I was disappointed that I never heard back. It was kind of an open letter, so I did publish it in our journal. Stressful? Yes. This is one, and I did put in the inches as well. This was back in 2006 in Vancouver, British Columbia. Vancouver's about 2 hours from the border with America. They are not prepared for snow. They get a dusting of snow, and the next morning it's melted. 15 inches of snow fell and literally paralyzed the call centers. Paralyzed the community. Schools were closed. Businesses were closed. But my thoughts were the communicators that couldn't go home. Why? Because their relief couldn't get into work. They've got childcare issues. They're paying a penalty if they don't pick up Johnny by 5 o'clock, or whatever those issues are. You got to stay. You've got to stay. I can't we can't unman the control center just because your shift is, and all of those issues that happen cause us stress. I'm sure many of you remember this one. Great picture. If you look for the big white splotches, you can see Toronto on the north shore of Lake Ontario. There's Chicago on the far left. New York, Long Island, Windsor, Detroit, and the bottom end of Lake Erie, and of course the picture on the right. Again, I don't know why my boss gets away with these, but again, I'm the acting deputy chief. When our control center went dark, it took about 30 seconds for the generators and battery power to kick on, and off we went. This was another picture. Picture or think of yourself receiving a message from one of your firefighters, one of your paramedics, one of your cops who's telling you, I can't go up the interstate because there's a canoe on the interstate. And this was a flood at that time. August 11th, 1995, I'm pretty sure you won't know about this one. This was one of my critical incidents. 2 subways crashed on a Friday night, 18:02:37. Why the hell do I remember that the shift, the call came in at 18:02:37, right at the tail end of our rush hour? I'm going to come back to that one. Let me see if I can now talk to you about Friday. Me and Fridays. Don't you love it? Friday, August the 11th in 95. Friday, March 14th in 1980. This is the line of duty death of Constable Michael Sweet. I'm working in the Police Communications Center, and I'm an acting supervisor. They were, the call center was set up that I and my colleagues were the radio operators. That was our job title. And we still had sworn officers answering the phone calls and deciding who got police service when, right? Constable Michael Sweet responds to a reported armed robbery occurring in downtown Toronto, very close to the lake. George's Bourbon Street. The restaurant's no longer there. He goes into the restaurant, and as things would happen, he gets taken hostage by the robbers and the rest of the patrons in the restaurant. Pardon me. I get a little choked up here, people, even though it was 44 years ago. Every time I think of this. CNN News, like Toronto's on CNN News. They've got television cameras across the street on the second floor being broadcast internationally. Huge hostage taking occurrence. In that era, it was the wait and see, the Stockholm effect, I believe it was called, right? Where the hostages and the hostage takers might come to an agreement. So they waited and they waited and they waited and they waited. My shift was over. Just as I'm leaving, we hear that the decision was made to have the SWAT team, we call them ETF, Emergency Task Force, enter the building, enter the restaurant, and free the hostages. They weren't injured. Michael was. He was rushed to the hospital. And later, I didn't know his outcome until the following morning when I woke up to hear every news media on the radio, every television was talking about Michael, who had died in the line of duty. But the ripple effect that I speak about didn't happen for me until the following day when I reported for work. 3 to 11 shift. It's a Saturday. I walk into the office and there's the unit commander. An inspector was the unit commander. And he said to me, Dave, Sergeant so-and-so tells me you know how to work the tape machine, the audio, big magnetic tape, reel to reel, spins around. Those of you who are from that era would remember that. We do it differently today. And I said, yes, sir, I do. He says, I want you to go in the tape analysis room and work with Vicky. And I want to know who was in charge of that fiasco last night. And I said, oh, I can tell you who was in charge, sir. The chief was there. No, the chief wasn't there. I said, well, sir, the chief was there. He was on television. No, but he wasn't in charge. I'm going, what's going on? I said, well, Deputy so-and-so was there. No, he wasn't there either. He wasn't in charge. I saw them on television, right? I quickly learned, I'd been with the police about 6 years, that my detail that shift was to find out what junior officer took control of that scene. And I can tell you that I don't know his name, but the administrative staff sergeant came out of the station because one of his guys was in trouble, and he radioed that he was at the scene, and he got tasked with doing the report. I spent the whole shift. Although I wasn't directly living the night before, because I was an acting supervisor. I didn't plug into that desk and nothing like that, but I relived every radio transmission, every telephone call related to that, trying to identify what's my goal, who was in charge. However, I got a piece of information from the audio tapes that we failed to communicate to the street, to the decision makers, whoever they happen to be, right? I don't know that I agree that the staff sergeant was actually the decision maker. Nonetheless, here we go. It was a piece of information. I'm not going to share it with you now. It doesn't really matter. It reflected in my report that we'd made an error. I thought it was a vital piece of information that came from a police officer in the field down at that scene, but failed to make it out of the call center to the decision makers. Today, 2024, there's no way that mistake, that error, that omission, would it have changed the outcome for Constable Sweet? I don't think so. Maybe. The point was the information didn't get out to the decision makers. And I went into a deep dive of psychological stress, which I know today to be psychological stress, right? Did we talk about critical incidents? Did we talk about post-traumatic stress? Well, we talked about it in World War I. It was cowardice. Shell shock. World War II, the soldiers suffered from cowardice, right? We've called it all sorts of things. And today, the last 15, 20 years, we're now with this post-traumatic stress injury. I like PTSI. I don't have a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress. I do know I suffered. Today, I can tell you I did suffer from critical incident. How exactly did that happen or affect me? Well, Saturday night, actually, at a break I went over to our local liquor store and bought a bottle, popped it in my car. And when I got home shortly after 11, I drank the bottle. Could I sleep? Absolutely not. I could not sleep. What was going on? I didn't ask myself that question. I just knew the right way to cope with this was drink so you can fall asleep. 2-3 hours, I wake up, I'm still drunk. right? I'm going to tell you this ongoing job impact transition. I know today that it was 9 months from this occurrence to when I left the police service and joined the paramedic service in Toronto. Huge, huge. If you had have asked me prior to 2007, and I'll tell you a little bit about 2007, I could have, oh, where am I here? I would have told you that it was 2 or 3 years after Michael was killed that I left the police service and joined the paramedic service. But in fact, I learned in 2007 that it was, 2009. And you can't, I don't think you can see these pictures. The younger guy was the SWAT commander of the day back in 1980. And that was his father. The older gentleman was his father, a former police chief in the city where Eddie was the ETF commander. Eddie committed suicide in a hotel room north of Toronto, and his memo books from that occurrence were laid out over the bed where he died. His family fought our workers' compensation board, whatever you call it. We also call it Workers' Safety and Insurance Board here. They didn't acknowledge that Eddie killed himself as a result of not being able to save his coworker Michael back in 1980. And I flashbacked. I actually have 3 different pages that appeared. And what was the story? The story was that the Workers' Safety and Insurance Board, WCB, had reversed their decisions. And that Eddie's suicide was finally acknowledged as being a job-related injury, and his family got better benefits, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know why I kept those 3 stories, but for some reason, administratively, I could, as the manager, the commander, I could sit in my office in the morning, do a couple of emails, and read this Toronto Sun newspaper. And that's what the columnist was reporting on, the success of getting the Workers' Compensation Board. It was 2009. I was out of my active role in the communications center. I was in a different Monday to Friday administration role. We won't go into what that was, but that prompted me to reach out to our staff psychologist. The Toronto Paramedic Service was probably unique in so much as we hired many years ago, probably early 2000s, late 90s, we hired our first full-time staff psychologist to help people with mental health injuries. And I reached out to her. And what I learned from her set me on a journey to continue to learn a lot more about this issue of mental health and mental wellness. We all know, let's quickly take a look. We all know that people in our business, working in our call centers, out on the streets, our cops, our firefighters, our paramedics, our prison guards, whatever, the people who keep us safe, they're ours, right? People don't call 911 and say, I don't need you to come out right now. I just wanted to let you know that I'm really pleased that you're there. And if I ever need you, I know how to get you. Never happens. People call us at the worst moment of our life. No wonder the people that we send to them, the calls that we take, are so tragic. We deal with tragedy all the time. All the time. What's your organizational climate in your organization? If it's understanding of what we do or what I did, I don't do it operationally anymore, right? Or is it bad? Do they still say today, suck it up, let's get on to the next call, the phone's ringing, get on to the next call, right? Sorry, let me back up. What's your role in your organization? How do you feel? How do you perceive how you're doing your work? How well do the bosses like what you're doing? Do they tell you they like what you're doing, right? Do you have organizational support? I know a police service here just west of Toronto, and inside their collective agreement, inside their union agreement, they have unlimited access to mental health supports. If you got to go once a week to see a professional, it's covered. If you go once a year, it's covered. This is an organization that supports their workers and understands what happens to them. I suffered from critical incident stress. No doubt about it. I did not go in 1980 to a psychologist and get assessed through what might have been the DD3 manual back in 1980, now known as the DD5. If you tick off enough boxes of the questions that the mental health professional asks you, then you can come up with the clinical diagnosis of post-traumatic stress. Did I have it? Don't know. Do I need to know if I had it? No, not now. I'm out of it, right? Burnout. I hate the term burnout, but that's what happened to me. Oh, 1980, March 1980. Let me add a few more things into what was going on. I talked earlier about psychology, right? Or sorry, not psychology, but interpersonal relations. I was supposed to get married in July of 1980. I'm an angry person. I'm a pissed off person. How do you think my first year of marriage went? I don't know about you, but I've heard that first year marriage, they argue about which way the toilet paper goes on the roll. Does it flip off the top or come out underneath? What do you think my new wife and I argued about, right? It was not good. We almost didn't make our first year. So organizational support, is it there for you? Is it there in your organization? What is your then commitment to the organization? I love this word. This is exactly what happened to me. I thought the police department was a pretty good organization, but I was only present after this injury to collect the check. I was still committed, and I showed up for most shifts for the next 9 months. But then I left. So what can we do? What's my advice to you, supervisors, frontline workers, management, right? What can we do? Become aware and engaged. Well, you're all doing that now because you're here. You're tuned in. Some great sessions this week. I haven't been able to sit too long and watch them. I'm preparing to get on a jet plane and go to the Dominican with my family. All 13 of us are going. But you've become engaged. Share, don't hide. Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody if something's bothering you, right? And I'm going to flip that into the reverse and say, Lean over to your coworker, tap them on the shoulder and say, Jane, that sounded like a really difficult call. Are you okay? Oh, somebody noticed that it was a difficult call. Talk about your experiences. I said earlier, I'm all about talk therapy, right? I'm a trained peer supporter. Done a lot of peer support. A lot of people have reached out to me. And you know what? They just want to talk. I listened to a lady. She was a police communicator east of us. And she talked to me for 45 minutes. All I had to do was go, I understand. Yeah, I'm with you. Right? And after 45 minutes, I said, so how are you feeling? She says, I feel a little bit better. I said, that's wonderful. Can I check back with you in a couple of weeks? She said, yeah, that'd be great. And we talk to each other about once a month, and that's been going on for probably 7 or 8 years now. So bosses out there, not our Mary, no way, not Bill. If Mary and Bill are your top employees and you're investigating them because they went off the rails and were screaming at a caller, which is contrary to your operational guidelines, delve into why did Mary or Bill, probably not the right word, snap, right? What was the call they took before, or two before, or 3 calls before? Or speak with their supervisor, speak with their co-workers. Everything all right with Mary or Bill? Check in. Bosses and co-workers, I already mentioned it, right? I used to get up as a supervisor and speak with the staff and acknowledge. One of the best tools I had was a little white envelope that had the brochure from the corporate employee assistance program, and 2, the business card of the staff psychologist. And I would hand this to the workers. Don't open this here. Don't open this here. When you get home, open up this envelope. And I probably handed out about 10 of them while I was a frontline supervisor over about a 12-year period. Going to the office shouldn't be a bad thing. There were 2 managers, 2 commanders in the call center reporting to this one deputy chief, and we had a new commander come in, and he met with his 6 shift supervisors and told them, I want you to meet with your staff for half an hour once every 6 weeks. We had about a dozen people on our shifts, maybe 14. And just report. Bill Smith, date, time. Not what was discussed, right? And of course, the supervisors went, well, what the hell should we talk about? And the manager said, I don't care. If you just take them across the street to a coffee, that's all. But I want you to speak with your staff. If you don't have one, get one. I think I heard this yesterday with one of our presenters. What, if any, mental health benefits are in your collective agreements? Get out today, tomorrow, next week, and test drive a mental health expert. Test drive? Yeah, test drive. Do you like them? Do they listen? Are they trauma informed? Do they understand the work that we do? And make a commitment to every 6 months go and see them. What do you talk about? I don't care, right? However, because this person now knows you, say you go July and January, and in September you phone them up and say, hello, I need to see you. They'll know something's up because you've got a relationship. And I would say psychologists are the best. And that's a Canadian thing. Psychologists, unfortunately, aren't covered by our socialized medicine up here in Canada. Psychiatrists are, but they seem to just want to give you out a pill. Okay, I'm tight for time. Let me quickly tell you, I am the shift supervisor the night 1802-37. These two subway trains in a tunnel in Toronto collided. Those other factors, I'm the boss. These other factors, one, I was supposed to be on the day shift. The night shift supervisor was on vacation, so they swung me to nights. We've all been there, right? You got to work the night shift on your day shift. Did I know this crew of dispatchers and call takers? Yeah, I knew of them. I worked with them 5 days out of a 6-week cycle. So I didn't know them well, but they were a good crew. I'm not going to talk too much more about this other than to say, let's fast forward to about 10 p.m. that night. One of my dispatchers says, Dave, can you talk to the gentleman on extension 42? He needs some help finding his wife. She thinks she's caught up in the subway system. I talk to the gentleman. He's very calm, right? He convinces me that, yes, he needs some help finding his wife. So I tell him, I'm not the police. I don't find missing people. But if you call this number, which was the non-emergency number to police communications, they'll help you find your wife. And why did he convince me after talking to him? He said, my wife works at Bathurst and St. Clair. She works at the bank. She called me at 3 minutes to 6 and say, honey, I'm on my way home. She walks 2-3 minutes to the subway, goes into the station, gets the southbound train, and she didn't come home yet. And of course, that's where he needed to start his story with the police, right? Because it happened at 1802-37. No question, somehow his wife is involved in this, somehow. Fast forward about an hour, no, maybe 30 minutes. Dave, one of my staff, says, can you talk to the gentleman on extension 42? Yes, yeah. Oh, I recognize the voice. It's the same voice. Oh, hello, sir, he says. I talked to the people that you said, and they said they couldn't help me because my wife's an adult and hasn't been missing for 48 hours. There's nothing they can do. I said, did you tell them that she phoned you? And, like, I'm not a detective. I just know time, right? Yeah, I did. I said, well, listen, that's very strange, but here's another phone number. This is to your local division, your local detachment, your local station. I said, you call this number. They'll help you. Off he goes. Comes back. Dave, I'm going, yes. Talk to the gentleman on extension 73. He wants some help finding his wife. I'm going, this can't be. Got to be somebody. It can't be. Same guy, 3 times in about 3 hours, 2.5 hours I spoke to him. I'm going to fast forward through the rest of the day, the rest of that night shift. I go home. I'm thinking of this guy. I got his name. I can tell you his name. I'm not breaching any protocols. His name was Zabo, Mr. Zabo. I go home. Do you think I can sleep? No. But because between 1980 and 1995, and I joined the paramedic service, and they hired a staff psychologist, and I learned all that I could about this issue, I knew why I didn't sleep, because this guy was on my mind. I wake up. We got a few kids now. The kids have got to go. It's Saturday. God, I love Saturdays after Fridays. Right? He is on my mind, right? I'm taking kids to be dropped off at baseball at 3. Then I'm going to slap my uniform on and I'm going to go down to work for my second shift. Not great. I'm tight for time. 3 p.m. I'm driving the kids. God, let's that baseball. Let's go. You know. I'm hearing on the radio. Oh, it's the big press conference. 3 people were killed. Subway will be closed for 2, 3, or 4, maybe a week. Bah, 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 bah. And I can't remember whether it was the police chief or the paramedic chief that gets up, and he says that one of the people that was killed that night was a lady named Mrs. Kinga Szabo. And I just lost it. I just absolutely lost it. I pulled over the side of the road. I am bawling my eyes out, thinking about Mr. Szabo, who spoke to me 3 times, wanting help with his wife, find his wife. I went into my shift, didn't have a good shift, didn't sleep, right? That's probably one of the factors, right? And I'm thinking, I learned that there's going to be a CISM debriefing, critical incident stress management debriefing, at my headquarters, about 50 feet from the operational control center. And it's going to be at 5 p.m. on the Sunday night. I phoned my boss, the guy who swung me tonight's. And I tell him, I got to go to this CISM thing. He goes, no, you don't. No, you don't. And I go, yeah, I do. He says, well, who the hell's going to cover the shift? And I slammed down the phone as I said, I don't give a fuck. I got to go to this thing. I went to this thing. I met some incredible people, from some transit employees, some cops. There was some firefighters. It was of benefit. It was so much of benefit that I learned that there would be the 4th shift that I was supposed to be in at 7 p.m. at night at the same location. I went to that one as well. It was benefit. We talked. I'm not going to get into what CISM is about. I think most of you know what it's about. We talked why we were there, right? I met they were called inspectors with the Transit Commission here in Toronto. I met a lovely lady who was the train crew's boss, right? She was like me. I didn't know I was there. I heard all sorts of things. I met a cop. You know what was her detail? What was her detail? That shift? For 8 hours, she stood guard over Mrs. Szabo's remains lying on the platform of the subway station. She went through Mrs. Szabo's purse, through the pictures of her and her family. I'm going, what the hell am I doing here? But you know what? It was important. Really tight for time. I want to quickly tell you that I didn't drink. Instead, when I got home from work, I walked around the block. I talked to my partner about what was going on. I told her that I had to do something. I spoke with my coworkers and other paramedic friends. I spoke to some members of our peer support team. What should I do? Oh, I got great. Send a card. Fantastic idea. Send some flowers. Oh, that's a good idea. I showed up. I decided to show up at the funeral home. I called the coroner. Can you tell me about Mrs. Szabo? She was from the victim from the, oh yes, we've released her to the so-and-so funeral home. I phoned the funeral home. I spoke with the minister, and I said, what are your thoughts about me coming to see Mr. Szabo? They said, oh, he'd be interested in that. I'll tell you what happened. And I'm doing this because I got a 4-minute video I want to play for you. And I know, Ricardo, I appreciate your candor, or you're giving me a little bit of more time. I went with a peer support guy from our peer support team. I wasn't on the peer support team. I drove from my home about 40 miles from where my buddy worked in the east end of Toronto. He and I drove to the west end of Toronto, another 20 odd miles. I'm trying to do miles here, ladies and gentlemen, not kilometers. Well, here I am. Picture this: tie, clip-on tie, of course, right? Jacket, little crest, ambulance crest, business card in my hand. I walk into the visitation room, and right in the door jamb, my feet won't allow me to go forward. My brain is saying, no, 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 Dave, don't go in here. This might hurt. My buddy's right on my shoulder. He says, taps me, he says, Dave, you gotta step in or step out. I said, leave me alone. He goes, no, Dave, you're blocking the door. Other people can't get in. So I stepped in and I went forward and I spoke with, or I stood there for a while. There was the lineup of people to give their condolences. And this is the part that I usually can't get through. I finally got the courage to get in the line. I got up to Mr. Szabo. I presented him with my business card, and he looked at my business card. Then he looked me in the face. Then he looked at my crest, looked at my business card again. This is 1995, ladies and gentlemen. I vividly remember this. He looked me in the face and he says, you're the gentleman that I spoke to the night my wife was killed. And I said, yes, sir, I am. And what he said to me was, I don't know. He said, thank you so much. You gave me purpose and direction that night. And I went, oh, you're welcome. He says, thank you so much for coming. I said, you're welcome. And I left. He knew why I was there. He knew why I had come. And it was 1990, shortly after 1995, that I continued to learn about this issue. Talk to somebody. Talk to a coworker. Talk to somebody on your peer support team. Don't have one? Get it in the collective agreement that you're going to put no mental health supports in your organization. Don't ask for $2 an hour more. Ask for $1,000 of mental health supports that you can spend in your healthcare benefits to get mental health supports. My name is Dave Ralph. I'm the networking guy. If you'd like to reach out, there's my email address. There's my phone number. It will accept texts, but I don't have a plan to text for free to America or around the world. Ricardo, when we got the presentation back, it took over my full screen, so I haven't been able to follow the chat box. I have a 4-minute video I would like to play for these people. Do I have time? Is there anything in the chat box that you saw that is pressing that I need to address?
You should be good. Go ahead and play your video.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a 4-minute and 29-second video. It does have a couple of scenes of a communicator. This was created with the assistance of the Tema Foundation. It highlights the issue that we've been talking about this past hour. It's available on YouTube. Kevin Davison, Davison, is a good friend of mine. Whenever he comes, he's from the East Coast. He's from Nova Scotia. Whenever he comes to Toronto, we always go and see our Toronto Blue Jays play baseball together. Well, not he and I play together. We just attend the game together. Here is Kevin Davison with a video about the issue we've been talking about this past hour. And of course, because we stole it from YouTube, we've got a
big ideas. It was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day, the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car's laid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we superheroes, we're just ordinary people. Difference and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry on this burden. When you can't see the things you see, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Now my shift is finally over. I gotta deal with what's mine. I'm trying to find a way to leave those tragedies behind. So I hug my 2 children, kiss on my wife. Just another day at first responders' life. Yeah, superhero, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference. And the first knows every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden. When you cannot see the things you see, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Another factory is stealing my sleep. Cause we superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy feeling to carry all this burden. When you cannot see the things you see, it keeps going on. Oh, when those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. Oh, when those sirens are gone.
So that concludes what I wanted to share with you. That 800 number is no longer valid. Our organization, the Tema Foundation, doesn't do that any longer. So that's it, Ricardo. I think I'm done. Appreciate you letting me go over time.
Of course. Yeah, no, thank you very, very much for coming on, for your presentation, your story, just very powerful. And I love towards the end there how you mentioned you basically it was like a full circle moment and just letting people know. I took a bunch of screenshots myself as well on some of the information. Just one of the things that you mentioned, what can we do is become aware and engage. This one especially, share, don't hide. and talk about your experiences. This was amazing, very well needed, and definitely with the Dare to Be Great theme of this entire event. And in the comments as well. So we've got your information up here, and if you move it off to the side just a little bit, you'd be able to see as well. And I ask that you come in here later on to be able to check out what a lot of folks have said as well, just about your story in general. And we talked a little bit about through email on having you on an episode as well. So I'm excited to have you on and share your story even further out, where we have more time to be able to go over and everything. So thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it more than you know.
I'd love to do that. If anybody, I'll zoom into any call center, any continuing education anybody is having, if they think that what I have to share would benefit their staff.
Perfect.
I know you're looking at the clock.
Oh yeah, no, I was making sure, so I was reading the next thing, that I was reading it right. Yeah, no, for me this is virtual. For me, the time doesn't matter. That's why I tell everyone, if we go over a little bit, it's okay. It doesn't matter, because this is virtual and everyone is here to see and listen to what you have to say. And if they can't see it live, they'll be able to see it on demand. So no worries at all. Thank you again very, very much for being here and what you do
Thanks,
for
Ricardo.
the profession.
Keep us safe out there, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yes, for everyone who is watching and listening, we are going to be going to the next session, and I will be bringing everybody over there with me, and we will be with our speaker, Chris Inman, who's doing a session called Communicating Discipline, the Critical Exchange. So we will see you all here